So, gods in your D&D game. It's an interesting topic for me that was suggested. Do gods need believers to exist, or do they draw their powers from beliefs? I think so. Imagine our world right now, the Catholic Church. I don't want to go down a tangent and get a whole bunch of trolls, but imagine if everyone stopped believing in the Christian God. What would that do to the church? It would go bankrupt. People would have to find, priests would have to find jobs. But in a make-believe world, does that God get forgotten?
They're forgotten to the world, but does it give them power? When in a world where there are gods that have power and grant power to people, it may or may not be that the believers grant the power. The more believers of the God, the more powerful the God is. The more believers in that God, it could be the influence that God is having over this stretch of the world. And the more that grows, the more influence they have, which could equate to their fantasy manifested power. Or the idea that this just gave me, which I am going to use at some point, is maybe the gods are very powerful and the belief in them is stealing some of their power, so that they are truly weakest when they have a large following, but when they're forgotten from the world, they regain the power that was taken from them. And they wreak havoc.
There's so much to go with that. Do they pretend to be other gods doing things to get believers?
Try and lose followers.
Yeah. In our game, Agoth Doomhand, the protagonist, is look at this, Matt Belcedo. This guy doesn't know SEO. I'm getting there. I'm about medium. Medium set. Low being, I know what that SEO stands for something.
Exists.
Medium being SEO is search engine optimization, and then high is how do you use it? Like a medium.
Medium high.
Yeah. But
medium medium. Thanks, Matt Belcedo.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I deserve that one. Adrian, your background is so cool. Thank you very much.
I love it.
These are all created from both of our faces. I'm actually going to do one that's just Chris in my background and one that's just me in Chris's background, and then it's going to get real weird here. So back to the gods. So in our campaign, gods, Agoth Doomhand is out for vengeance on the gods, and the way he has decided to do it is kill all believers. Now, just imagine for a brief second, all of in ancient Mesopotamia. Imagine all the gods that they believed in. You have fields open. All the women are fertile at the same time. They all have their menstrual cycle at the same time. Which also means that the people who get pregnant, back then they all gave birth at the same time. So were they able to comprehend the science behind it? No. So what do? They probably believed in the birthing god, or if it's God, the sun. What is that? All this stuff. They probably had names for gods. They probably had all this stuff. And even before the Mesopotamian time, what were people thinking? But they didn't have the ability to write it down. So their gods that they worshipped, and they probably did worship, they probably at some point decided all to go out to the field and honor the moon because that's when the fertilization happened, or whatever it was. That knowledge probably died because they didn't have a way to pass it on besides words. Before the Mesopotamian time. So just imagine how much knowledge was lost and belief in the gods. So those gods in our world have zero power, like the Catholic Church does, because people believe in this thing.
Right.
The gods have a power in our actual world.
Yes.
Built on a belief system. If you kill the belief, then there's no power there. So the same thing I applied to our world, but they're actual gods.
Yeah.
When the believers stop, I have it linked to their power. So when Mr. Matt Belcedo, who actually plays with us, when his character, his backstory, he killed a bunch of Talos followers, I actually built that into the background of something that Doomhand would know, and it was one of the first times that he actually witnessed Talus's like almost extinction, until of course Lone Star.
Yeah.
What's your take on the power?
Playing in the Skulls of Power, playing with that, that's a common theme for power for gods in a fantasy world. And it's always interesting to see if that really has an effect in how the gods interact. If you see the large temples and large religious spread throughout the lands, does that god actually have a more of a direct impact in the world, or is it just through the followers? Do you see the change in that power of the god depending on those?
Do you think that, you know how, it just reminded me of something, you know how when you set up a session 0, like you tell the characters like what the world's, especially if you're creating one from homebrew like we did, what's the level of magic there is? Is it Harry Potter where everyone can go Kazam? Is it X-Men where everyone has like a special thing? Or is it more like Lord of the Rings where
very few
but powerful, that type of thing? Maybe there's a level for that, or a similar type of thing for that for when you do religion or gods. Like, how much of the world is ruled by gods? They exist. Do they care? The gods don't really care about this world. They may, if you worship them enough, or they have worshippers, they may show face, but they don't care. They come up with a reason why they're not there or whatever. But I feel like in the D&D Beyond, if you're playing one of their created campaigns, those gods exist. The Pantheon. It exists, but maybe you tell the players like the gods have taken a break. They're disappointed in all kinds, except for maybe this particular race or whatever, and they're hard to get in touch with.
Yeah.
They do care, and they're everywhere. And if you worship the right one at the right time, they'll help you.
You get all your dreams come true.
Yeah, so you'll see that.
Or maybe you get tricked, so you worship the one god that you think is the good one, and at just the wrong time, and they come to claim your soul.
Yeah.
And it depends on you as the Dungeon Master how much you want them to get involved. Do you want to have these all-powerful creatures hopping in and out occasionally, messing with them or helping them? Maybe you do. Maybe you want to have your players really interact with the deities and really have that connection to these really powerful creatures. Meet them, talk to them, interact with them, and more than just their followers and the teachings and the stories that you hear about them. Yeah. I think the stronger, the more powerful your characters get, the more honest, comparable to everyone else in the world.
Matt Belcito writes, if gods draw from followers, their ability should ebb and flow with the campaign. Like when you guys did that first Earthers. Great story. Flat Earthers. Sorry, I think I need glasses. Flat Earthers. Great storyline. Matt, I guess that's Matt, no inspiration, but
Matt,
I'll give you inspiration.
You got a cool point.
Yeah, I think you're.
If they're especially in the campaign, if you're going through with Doomhand and just eradicating swaths of followers to certain gods, of course those powers are going to change. You saw that with Lone Star, with I forgot the other god that you did that Doomhand wiped out, or most of them. But in your campaign, you should be seeing, if that's a tie, you should be seeing gods wither and die.
Yeah,
it depends on how you're running that engagement.
Maybe we need to do a god running. I did a bunch of those at the very beginning.
We saw the avatars of Shar and I forgot the other one's name, Ball.
Because I have gods that are particular to the story of Doomhand and why he's pissed off at them and why he wants to kill them. If you really want to see what the power of the gods is like in a campaign, have an avatar show up and make them weak.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of followers? You don't have to. There's plenty of ways to also, in an immersion sense, tell the group how strong the god is by having them have a lot of visual followers. Like when I did with Sun God, there were a lot of people important to this place. You didn't care. The island, they took the crystal, which is the magic power of the island floating in the sky, keeping it floating, and they stole it. And now it's plummeting. But right before that, they just had a whole bunch of people worshiping the sun god. So in my mind, I'm like, do the players know that this is going to trigger something in the actual world? Because Doomhand isn't just trying to kill those gods. He's trying to kill all gods. Which is why he's trying to spread the zombie apocalypse, which is why he's trying to... That's his way.
I think there has been conversations of, is what he's doing wrong in recent weeks of the game, or recent sessions.
Yeah. Love it.
The party itself is a little indifferent to, like, maybe we're going to start siding with Doomhand, so we'll see what happens with this. But also, you create a really good distraction for us. We can't not take the distraction.
Of course.
Stag is the chaotic character. That's what he's going to do. He's going to say, "Yep, let's just slip right inside and do this right underneath their nose," because it's fun.
Gods. Again,
Gods.
It depends. I view it like magic. Is magic strong in the world? Is it weak in the world?
It's another slider that you use to tune how you want the feel of the game to be.
Maybe the magic and the gods are all in one. Maybe worshippers of a particular god, whatever it is, give players and NPCs in the world magic. The more you believe in that type of god, so that when the players do their mage hand, if it's the god of Baal, maybe blood shoots out and a misty bloody hand comes out, or if it's Talona, the poison you get.
Right.
Same thing, but mushrooms and crap. So again, a suggestion depends on your campaign. I think in our world, in the real world, and I think from me, immersion is easiest when it comes and relates to the real world. Like you're playing a game over here, but what would actually happen in the real world with the gods? I think that if people stopped worshiping a particular god, that belief system is just dead in the real world. So why wouldn't it be in the made-up one? And if it does die, maybe the god is omnipotent and seeks revenge.
Yeah. But either way, I think you bring up a great point of having a conversation with your DM, or if you're a DM, figuring out where you want that slider in the game, or play around with it a little bit. See if you want to add more direct interaction. It's another tool that you can use. And if you're a player and you're a cleric or someone who you want to be interacting with the gods, talk to the DM and find out how involved the gods are. I know in my local group, gods are always listening. And so you never know when you might need to pray for a god to get something. So every character I play with that group is always religious to one god or another. Just because you never know when you need to pray for help in that fight when everyone is dead and the rocks are tumbling down.
And you get down on your knees, and you get down on your knees, and you get down on your knees. I'm going to take... And then all of a sudden, Bertha comes out, and Bertha's the god of flamboyant strength. And she stops that hill from sliding.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good wrap-up, right?
And that's a good cliffhanger.